Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So let's begin our session with wonderful quote. Excellency is a continuous process and not an accident by APJ Abdul Kalam. Greeting of the day. Good evening everyone. I'm Samradhi, being your host for today's international webinar on topic dedication. Extend my warm greeting and a very good evening to all of you present here. Dedication means giving you all to a goal or cause. Stay committed even when it's tough. It's about putting in constant efforts and not giving up easily. Dedication is what turns ordinary day into extraordinary achievement, one step at a time. Talking about SEMS Welfare Foundation, we are Session 8 not-profit company, registered under the Company Act 2013 with various recognition from NITI Aayog, MSME, AMICOM, TDU, JKY, and more. Recognized as a startup by DIP, MCI, and awarded Best Service Award for National Contribution. SEMS Group with active network of 5,000 plus professional published books and international journals organized education and health camps for unprivileged children, promoted digital and financial literacy, and contributed to society. Our initiative, DigiSession, has developed content for 300 plus courses in IT, BFSI, retail, entrepreneurship, impacting the revised age groups. We have executed a skilling project for 600 inmates, signed MOUs for training, and collaborated with various organizations and conducted international conference. SAM lead another SEMS initiative empowers women through workshops and newsletters, conducting awareness program in digital literacy, marketing, and career development across different industries. We have impacted over 1,000 across state and recently celebrated a milestone of 100 women associated with the program. On behalf of the whole SEMS family, I welcome you all for today's international webinar on transforming your words with words and add to our guest of honors. Today's speaker is Mr. Jitendra Sharma. It is great honor to have you with us, sir, and we are grateful for your presence here with us today. Now, let me introduce you to the speaker. Mr. Jitendra Sharma is a globally accomplished product marketing and management professional with over 30 years of experience across 16 countries. He has double master's degrees in marketing management, computer management, and experienced professional. He has rich experience having handled various responsibilities in industrial marketing and sales for domestic and international businesses. He has 26 years of corporate experience with his last assignment being close to 12 years with Kimberly Clark Professional, a global MNC as regional category manager managing 11 countries in Asian Pacific. He has widely traveled to various countries across Asia Pacific, Europe, and USA. Mr. Jitendra Sharma decided to step out of the corporate life a few years back in order to widely share his experience and knowledge. Presently, he is engaged in business consulting and advising to the mid-sized business for accelerated growth. He also provides marketing, business, and soft skill training to cooperative and other institutes. He also a guest leader on marketing and management subjects to various academic institutes. He is employed as a cooperative faculty at Symbiosis Center for Distant Learning and visiting faculty and panelists at various other management institutes. Mr. Jitendra Sharma has a wide social network. He actively involved with Rotary International. He is the president-elect and director at Rotary Global History Fellowship and editor-in-chief of their our Foundation newsletter, a global e-publish, and he has a stone engraved with his name at the Paul Harris Memorial in Chicago. He has been assistant governor of RI District 3131 and certified trainer at the Rotary Leadership Institute. Mr. Jitendra Sharma has been closely working with the youth and has been instrumental in starting and mentoring a number of new Rotary Act and Interact clubs, the Youth Club in Rotary.
Thank you, Samradhi. A very good evening to all of you. Lovely to have you all today. And we are going to discuss a very interesting subject, which is dedication. And Samradhi, you already laid the foundation by giving some insights into what dedication is. And it should be easy because I doubt whether any of you have not heard of this word or are not aware of what dedication is. So what are we going to do in the next 20-25 minutes? Just dive a bit more further into it to see how we can better relate with this particular behavior, what I'll do is let me start sharing my screen. So, what we'll do is let's dive into this topic of dedication. And let me tell you a instance or a story, an example. So once a doctor was called up on his phone for an urgent surgery. The doctor answered the call as soon as possible, changed into his clothes, entered the hospital in a hurry, and went directly to the surgery block. There, he found the boy's father, who was to undergo surgery, going and coming inside the hall, waiting for the doctor. As soon as the father saw this doctor, he yelled, "Why did you take all this time to come? Don't you know that my son's life is in danger? Don't you have any sense of responsibility?" The doctor smiled and said, "I am sorry. I wasn't in the hospital and I came the fastest I could after receiving the call. And now I wish that you would calm down so that I can do my work." Calm down? What if your son was in the room right now? Would you calm down? If your own son dies now, what will you do? Said the father angrily. The doctor was calm. He smiled again and replied, "Doctors cannot prolong life. Go and intercede for your son. We will do our best by God's grace." The father murmured, "Giving advice when we are not concerned is so easy." Well, the doctor went in for the surgery. The surgery took some hours, after which the doctor came out pleased and happy. "Thank goodness your son is saved." And without waiting for the father's reply, he carried on his way running and just telling the father, "If you have any question, ask the nurse." When seeing the nurse minutes after the doctor left, the father commented, "Why is this doctor so arrogant? He couldn't even wait for some minutes so that I can ask him about my son's state?" The nurse answered with tears rolling down her face, "The doctor's own son died yesterday in a road accident. He was in the burial when we called him for your son's surgery. And now that he has saved your son's life, he left running to finish his son's burial." Now, this real life story example, let me open it up for a minute or so. And anybody who wants to share, what do you understand by this story or what do you learn from this particular story? And any one or two people who want to answer so that we can keep it a bit interactive.
Doctor will have
Dedication.
responsibility.
Yes,
So dedication in our profession is most important.
very nice. Anybody else?
Dedication as
Duty first.
humanitarian.
Duty first, then anything else.
Okay, so first duty. Right. Yes, Anutha. Yes, any one more person? What did you learn from this story?
Dedication makes one a good human being.
Okay, dedication makes one a good human being. And I'm seeing something in the chat also. Okay.
Sir, I found from this story that your personal feelings come later and before comes your duties.
Very nice. Great. So all of you have shared your perspective, and many of you have, yes, related it to the topic of our subject today, which is dedication, right? It is all about dedication. But then, what is this dedication really about? What does it really mean? In fact, the etymological roots of the word dedication can be traced back to the Latin term called dedicare, which means the giving of oneself to some purpose. And somebody of you rightly touched it. Thus, it implies that an individual has to be consistently committed towards his aims. If you look at the Cambridge Dictionary, you will find this definition of dedication: the willingness to give a lot of time and energy to something because it is important. The primary factor behind a successful person is his or her level of dedication, which signifies the commitment of a person towards achieving objectives and life goals. Thus, dedication implies total devotion. Ask any successful personality the reason behind their success, and the first answer that will emanate is that they were dedicated. Dedication is thus the ultimate key to success in life. And I'm sure you would have heard a number of stories of successful people who have been dedicated. One story which some of you should be knowing is about this KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. And in fact, let me again open it up for any of you who can share the story behind KFC. related to dedication, in case you all know about it? Yes, anybody who knows the story behind KFC and wants to share?
The person who established KFC was very aged person.
Mm-hmm.
As per I know, he is more than 60 years
Mm-hmm.
that time,
Yeah.
and he was not so rich person. But after the age, he learned that something he has to establish, which will make him not just make him established or famous, but he want to prove that uh, age doesn't matter. If I have the dedication, I want to make something, then age is just a number, nothing more than that.
Very nice, Madhurima. Good summation. Anybody wants to build on that?
Uh,
He was
this
actually he
person
was
makes the
80 years more, sir. 80 years, more than 80 years. And
Yeah.
then he wanted to start his own business like that. And then with a lot of dedication and a lot of hard work, he has brought the entire world with such a great branded
Yeah.
item to the entire world. And he showed a path that age is just a number and nothing to worry about the age. Whenever you have a desire to be achieve something, you can achieve. No, nothing to worry about the age.
Very nice, Hemlata. Mr. Kulkarni, I think you were trying to say something.
they have made the consistency in work throughout the life.
Yeah. Very nice. So I think, yes, you all have summoned it very well. So for the others, let me just tell you this story. Now, this is the real life story of this person called Colonel Harland Sanders. In fact, his face is what you see on KFC. Now, this person was disappointed umpteen times in his life, but still made his dream come true late in his life. And it's a really inspiring story. In fact, Colonel Harland Sanders is actually a seventh grade dropout who tried many ventures in life but tasted bitter every time. He started selling chicken at his age of 40, but his dream of a restaurant was turned down many times due to various conflicts, wars, etc. Later, he attempted to franchise his restaurant. In fact, you should know that his recipe got rejected 1009 times. I repeat, 1009 times before it was finally approved. Owing to his dedication, soon the secret recipe, which is Kentucky Fried Chicken, became a huge hit worldwide. KFC was expanded globally and the company was sold for $2 million. And as you can see, his face is still celebrated in the logos. So, what really is the moral of this story? Have you stopped your attempts to venture just because you were rejected or failed a few times? Can you even accept a failure of 1009 times? This story inspires everyone to try hard and believe in yourself until you see success despite how many times you have failed. So, a very inspiring story. Now, the question which should come in your mind is, how does one develop dedication? I mean, is there some sort of a secret sauce or a secret recipe to becoming a dedicated person? The answer is behavior. See, behaviors are habits you can develop. So, dedication is a behavior which you can develop. Therefore, with little effort and practice, you can develop these habits. And each one of us can become a dedicated person. What we will do is, over the next 10 minutes or so, let us discuss some characteristics of dedicated people. And maybe you can then understand what you need to do to make yourself more dedicated. Okay. So the first one is, dedicated people make commitments. Dedicated people set goals. Dedicated people establish a plan or a path to success. For example, a student trying to make the honor roll may set up a study schedule. The student then sticks to that schedule. He works tirelessly to meet goals of the plan. Strength of commitment and structure of the plan provide the student a clear path to follow to meet that goal. The second, dedicated people believe. They believe in themselves and their ability to achieve their goals. Even on bad days, when they don't do study, work, or exercise, they are still dedicated to their goal. Dedicated people stick to the plan and do things they don't want to do. Even when the next step they need to do is hard, they will continue doing it. Which brings me to another real life story. Once a businessman was in debt and couldn't figure out a way out of it. Creditors were pressing him, suppliers were demanding for a payment. One day, he was sitting on a bench in a park with his head down, thinking what could save the company from bankruptcy. Suddenly, an old man appeared in front of him. I see that something is bothering you, he said. After listening to the businessman, the old man replied, I think I can help you. He asked the businessman what his name was and immediately wrote him a check and said, take this money. We will meet here exactly in 1 year, and I am sure you will be able to return to me this money at that time. And after that, he turned around and disappeared just as suddenly as he had appeared. The businessman saw the check in his hand, and it was for an amount of $500,000 signed by the person John Rockefeller. John Rockefeller at that point of time was one of the richest people in the world. The businessman thought, I could end all of my problems in no time. But instead, the businessman decided to put the check in his safe. Only one thought about its existence gave him strength to find a solution to save his business. With the return of his optimism, he concluded profitable deal. During a couple of months, he got out of debt and started to earn money again. Exactly 1 year later, he returned to the park with the same check. At the agreed time, the old man appeared again. And at that very moment, when the businessman wanted to return the check to him and share his story of success, a nurse ran up and grabbed the old man. I'm so glad I caught him, she exclaimed. I hope he wasn't bothering you. He always runs away from the house and tells everyone that he is John Rockefeller. The businessman was bemused. During the whole year, he was spinning and building a business, buying and selling, convinced that he had $500,000 in his safe. And suddenly, he understood that it is not the money, real or imaginary, that turned his life up. It was his new confidence and belief that gave him strength to achieve everything that he had now. So, interesting story. The next is dedicated people are passionate. They are passionate about the commitments they make and the goals they set. And the trick to that passion, it gives them the strength to do the hard thing, because dedicated people keep the goal or the objective always in front of them or in the center and walk the path one step even when they don't want to. Again, another story which I've shared earlier also, but it's very relevant here. The story is told of a dispassionate young man who approached the Greek philosopher Socrates and casually stated, "Oh, great Socrates, I come to you for knowledge." The philosopher took the young man down to the sea, waded into the water with him, and then held the back of his neck and dunked him underwater for 30 seconds. When he let the young man up for air, Socrates asked him to repeat what he wanted. "Knowledge only, O great one," he sputtered. Socrates put him under the water again, only this time it was a little longer. After repeated dunking and responses, the philosopher asked, "What do you want?" The young man finally gasped, "Air! I want air." "Good," answered Socrates. "Now, when you want knowledge as much as you wanted air, you shall have it. There are no two ways about it. If you want anything badly enough, you can find the willpower to achieve it. The only way to have that kind of desire and willpower is to develop passion. People that are dedicated have identified the path that they need to take. They have broken down their objective or goals into a plan. They work backward from the end result, identifying small steps that will help them reach the goal or the objective. As a result, they have clear, actionable steps to prioritize and to follow, and the willpower to execute the plan. Now, does being a dedicated person mean that your ideas, attitude, and choices must remain the same? No, not at all. Dedication, commitment, success ultimately require flexibility. Sometimes what you envision when creating your plan isn't what happens, and you have to be flexible and adjust. Change your course of action, modify your plan, and continue to work towards the end result. Dedicated people are self-disciplined. As we saw, they have a plan. As a result, they have identified the critical tasks, and with self-discipline, they stick to the plan. They make promises to themselves and the end goal and execute even when the voice that we all have in our heads tell them to take the day off or to do something else. Now, how many of you recognize this person and this dialogue, right? एक बार मैंने जो कमिटमेंट कर दी तो फिर मैं अपने आप की भी नहीं सुनता. Yes, this is a dialogue of Salman Khan from the movie Wanted, and translated it says, once I make a commitment, I do not listen otherwise to my own self. So dedicated people have thought through their commitments. They can articulate the plan to anyone that asks. Consequently, they can tell you what they are doing, why they are doing it, and what they hope to achieve. Dedicated people are inspiring. They achieve goals in life. Therefore, they inspire others to be more and achieve higher goals. As a result, dedicated people become role models for others. Just think, do you have someone that is a role model for you? If not, think of someone that has achieved what you would like to achieve. And it can be anyone, a parent, a teacher, someone in your community, or maybe even a celebrity. If the role model you choose is someone close to you, have a conversation with them. Ask them how did they achieve their goal, and ask them, if possible, to be a mentor for you or provide some guidance. Again, how many of you have watched or are aware of this movie called Pa? This movie, Pa, shows the sheer dedication of the Bollywood legend Amitabh Bachchan. Now, for those who have not seen the movie or are not aware of it, this movie is about a character called Auro, on whom the movie is based. And this character, as you see on your screen, is played by Amitabh Bachchan. This character, Auro, has a disease called progeria, which is an extremely rare, progressive genetic disorder that causes children to age rapidly, starting in the first 2 years of their life. For this role of Auro, Amitabh Bachchan had to get into the character of Auro, for which he had to go through rigorous makeup sessions daily. It used to take the makeup artist 4 hours to put on the makeup and another 2 hours in order to remove it. Hats off to Amitabh Bachchan, who even at this age managed to undergo such rigorous sessions, and this goes on to prove what kind of dedication and passion he has for cinema. So these were some of the characteristics which we saw of dedicated people. Now, possibly some of you have made notes, but if not, let us just revise all these different 8 characteristics. The first, we talked about dedicated people making commitments. Dedicated people believe. Dedicated people are passionate. They plan, but at the same time, they are flexible. Dedicated people are self disciplined. They can voice their commitments and they are inspiring to others. So these are some of the characteristics of dedicated people. So those who have not made a note, you can make a note or maybe take a screenshot right away. Before we close the session of today and take it up for discussions and interactions, I just want to share with you some important tips. See, most goals take a long time. That's why you need to have perseverance and determination to see them till the end. Just imagine how long it would take for you to say lose a lot of weight, or maybe to write a book, or maybe to start say an online business. These things do not happen overnight. So I have found some 3 important things you need to keep in mind as you become dedicated to reaching your own goal. The first is plan for the long term. The bigger the goal you set for yourself, the longer you should set for reaching it. Larger goals will have difficult obstacles to overcome and the problems to solve. This will take time. So, when setting goals, it is good to think in terms of months or years. This gives you a realistic frame of reference for the amount of time you need to achieve them. Make sure to give yourself plenty of time. Goals often take longer than you realize. When you can set a path long into the future and become dedicated to that, you make it more likely for those goals to happen. The second important tip is don't give up if you don't see immediate results. It is normal not to see huge results right away. When you don't see immediate results, you might think you're not going to see any. That's when you feel like you should give up, but that's not how it usually works. Just because you don't see instant results doesn't mean you're never going to see any. It's like those people who work out at the gym and give up after a few weeks because they don't see anything happen. It's not that simple and easy. If it was, possibly everyone was doing. And the third and final tip is don't commit to things you shouldn't. It is much easier to set commitment than to actually see them all the way through. You should resist that temptation to set targets you don't actually have the drive to complete. What is worse is that setting an objective and giving up on it right away undermines your ability to dedicate yourself for future goals. It makes you uncomfortable and fills you up with hesitation and irresolution. That doesn't mean people shouldn't try things to see whether they like it. It's perfectly fine to try something new. But before you set that weight loss target, you should make sure the exercise you are doing to reach it is something you could do every week for several months. And finally, dedication is something about not doing it today and not doing it tomorrow. It is something which you do all the time, and that is why, as it is said, dedication doesn't have an off season. So from a content perspective, that is all I wanted to share, and we have another 15-20 minutes to take some questions, some discussions. But before I stop sharing my screen and hand it back to the organizations, just in case you want to remain connected with me and have some discussions later on also, this is my LinkedIn address. I'm available on LinkedIn. Later on, I'll also share my address on the chat group. But now I'll stop sharing my screen and hand it back to the organizers. So Samrati, you can take it on from there and let me know if there are any questions.
What a wonderful knowledge given by you, sir. I hope our audience learned many new things from this session. I would like to highlight some of the points, like you have said, tell us various stories and the tips you have given for the dedication. Thank you, sir. And for the question round, sir, there are few questions which our audience want to be answered. So, with
Okay.
your permission, can we proceed with the question?
Yeah, please.
So, what advice do you have for balancing dedication with self-care and avoiding burnout?
Okay. So the thing is, as I told you, and in fact, it was a part of the session itself, it is all about setting your goal and what sort of a goals you're setting, which, yes, you definitely need to make efforts to reach it, but it should not be something which you will not be able to reach, or it is not unachievable, right? So set achievable goals and set a plan to put all your efforts in it, but at the same time not something. So when does burnout come in? Burnout come in when you're trying to do something in excess of what really you should be doing, and possibly if the goal you have set is something which is unachievable or beyond your capacity, that is where burnout comes. So if you set the right goals and you develop a right plan and follow it well, your chances of burnout will really reduce.
Thank you, sir, for answering. So our next question is, what are the some signs that indicate someone is truly dedicated to their work or goals? Cause.
The first thing is they will start achieving success in whatever goals or objectives they set, whether it is small, short term, long term, they will start seeing the results. So anyone who is dedicated to their objective will more often than not find the results going positively in their way. Very rarely will you find somebody who's dedicated to what you're doing but still not getting the results. Maybe in that case, possibly the only reason why you did not achieve your objective was something which was out of your control, right? But everything else which in your control will be there. So if you are dedicated, you will definitely find success coming your way. And once you start achieving success, and how do you recognize that this is a dedicated person? You will find that person happy and satisfied. So you can see it on their faces that they are happy and satisfied, because imagine if whatever you're planning or setting objectives and you're consistently meeting your objectives, you are bound to be happy and satisfied, and that is what gets reflected on your face. So when you see a person happy and satisfied, you can assume, yes, this person is a dedicated person because he's putting in hard work to achieve whatever he wants and he's getting all these successes.
Thank you, sir, for answering this question. Our next question is, how important is dedication in achieving long-term success and fulfillment?
I think very, very important. I think this is one of the most important attributes or behavior which you need. Without dedication, I think it's almost impossible to achieve any of your objectives. Because if you have set something and you've developed a plan, if you are not going to follow that plan, if you are not going to put in your efforts, you are never going to achieve that goal. So, for example, if you set up a goal of, I am going to finish reading this book in 30 days, right? And to that book is say of 300 pages, which means you need to read at least 10 pages every day. Now you've set this goal, you set a plan. If you end up not reading 10 pages every day, are you going to achieve your goal of completing that book within 1 month? You will not, right? So it is as simple as that. If you are not dedicated to your plan or doing that, it is going to be very difficult for you to achieve your objective, your goal in your set time. So hence dedication is necessary and important.
Thank you, sir, for answering this question. Mr. Gansham Das has raised their hand. Please.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I want to ask one. My son has established a restaurant with the help of three friends.
Okay.
The restaurant was running well. The plan was very good, but the problem came that due to some higher rent of the building, they are not getting profit, and
Okay.
their burnout is there. So they started getting frustration and started to close it. But somehow again we pushed it, and they have again running. So dedication is there, everything is there, but because of lack of some resources, they are not able to get the profit.
Understood.
So what should be done?
Yes, and since you're, asking this question in relation to dedication, the first thing is yes, and you rightly called it out, they are dedicated, which
Yeah.
means they are passionate about their objective, they want to meet it.
Yeah.
Never ever is somebody going to have, an objective or a big goal and you will not run into problems or obstacles. Everybody is going to find obstacles. It is a question of, if you are dedicated, you will also find the resources to
Okay.
bypass those obstacles. Now, as we told you, one resource could be like y'all are helping out. The other resource could be, can they look at some guide or some mentor who could, guide them? Like as I told you, and if you would have heard in my introduction, presently I am guiding a number of mid-sized businesses like this, and I
Okay.
come across such people who are, finding similar obstacles, and based on my knowledge and experience, I can, help them or guide them. So when these people, your son and their friends, are not able to find a solution themselves, why don't they reach out to people who may be able to guide them better? So get a
Okay.
mentor, which again was a part of the session, and I'm sure, but if they remain dedicated, I can guarantee that they will achieve success. Maybe
Okay.
aaj nahi, kal nahi, but it will come as long as they are dedicated, and that is the importance of dedication.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for asking that. Yeah.
Sir, our next question is, what advice would you give to someone looking to cultivate dedication in their professional or personal life?
Yes. Okay, good. So this is basically a summary of all that I discussed. So as I told you, number one is look at the dedicated people. I shared certain characteristics of dedicated people, right? So why don't you try to look at yourself and look at those 8 characteristics? Are you having all of those? Or is something missing? And if something is missing, that becomes a gap. And what is that gap? So possibly is it that you are taking up your targets and your goals, but maybe you are not planning well for it. If that, can you then do better planning? Okay. Or maybe you are planning, but you are not putting in enough to adhere to your plan. Then can you do that? Is it something which is a lack of your own knowledge, or as Ghanshyam Ji was telling, maybe lack of resources? Then can you work on that? Can you get a mentor? Is it something where you are lacking your own self belief? Do you lack in confidence yourself or achieving your goals? Again, then can you look to go and take advice from somebody that I have taken this objective, I'm trying my best, but somehow I'm not sure whether I'll be able to do it. There will be people who can guide you. Once you develop that belief that yes, I can do it, you will be able to do it. And for that, you need some force or something to back you up. Like if you remember that story of, having that check in your safe, even if it was a false check, but there was something which motivated you. So, what is that motivation? Can you search for that? And as I always tell people, you are not alone in this journey. You are not alone. And don't hesitate to ask for help. And I'll tell you, once you ask for help, you will find there are so many people who are ready to help you. And you don't need to even go around the world search for your own friends, family, well wishers. They will be. The problem with most of us, and sometimes even with me, is that we always think that this is my problem, so only I should try to solve it. I'll tell you, once you start sharing your problems, you will realize that your problem is not yours alone. Everybody around you may have experienced the same problem. So it is not that you are unique. Everybody faces problems, and that is natural. The fact that you are facing a problem only means that you are trying. When do you fail? You will only fail when you try something. If you are not going to try something, you are not going to fail. So try it, fail, but you will get support. So ask for support, ask for help, and that will only take you further. I hope that has answered whoever's asked the question.
Thank you, sir, for answering this question. That was a very good piece of advice given to us, sir. Again, thank you for all for attending today's webinar. And if you have additional question, you can contact us by email or telephone. We are happy to provide additional support to you. Please follow us on our social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel for new learning.